Anyway, we went to the Supreme Court. We petitioned to have it accepted. We had a date about 3 months later. We got to court. There were 3 judges sitting on the bench. The Chief Justice at the time was Barak. Barak was a very charismatic and colorful and well-liked judge here in Israel. He spoke his mind, and he was quite liberal. We walked in, he looked at his papers, and he said, listen, I think that this is such an important case. I request a delay. I want to have more judges on the bench when the decision is given. I had no idea what that meant. Turns out this is a good thing. We got a paper to come back 5 months later. Came back 5 months later. There were 7 judges on the court, sitting on the bench. Now, what does 7 judges mean in Israel? I found out later. You remember 2 years ago when the Israelis left Gaza? You remember? You heard about it? It was on all the news? Okay, this Arik Sharon did. All the Jews, all the settlers had to leave Gaza. The settlers who lived in Gaza brought this to the Supreme Court. They said, this is our land and we're staying. Well, for that case, there were 7 judges. And this was like a world-shaking event. This was an event that changed the course of history in Israel. It was the first time that Israel actually, except for the Sinai, withdrew from territories. Anyway, we got there were 7 judges. On that morning, there were 2 cases. The first case was a case about foreign factory workers. And we got there a little bit early, and we walked in, and there were all these very big factory workers there with T-shirts and not dressed suitably for the Supreme Court. Anyway, their case ended. Ours began. The first words out of Barak's mouth were, and this is on tape, he says, my God, before this place smelled like a gym locker room, now it smells like a duty-free shop. all of our friends and all of the community came to sit and see what was going to go on. The 5 hours that preceded this were very, very interesting. The attorney for the state, she was saying things that were just, you could see that she herself didn't believe what she was talking about. What if tomorrow people want to marry mules? You know, and like the judge looked at her and said, no, come on, be serious. You know, and then she said, if I go out to the street now and ask the first 100 people, what does it mean to be married? They'll say, a man and a woman get married. So he says, well, that's not how we run this country, by public opinion. And then he said, well, that's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I mean. Anyway, we won. And I'm proud to say that Avi and I were the first couple to go to the Ministry of the Interior with our ID cards, and they changed it from single to married. Obviously you can't read Hebrew, but right here, on this paper here, it says marital status, married, and it says a spouse's name, and it has his name. That's a side of Israel that you guys don't hear about in Europe. Okay? That's a side that you don't hear about. This is a progressive country. Yes, there is a conflict. I'm not trying to hide it. But this is a country... Thank you.
You're touching history.
Well, in fact, I have heard in Europe, so, and you made the newspaper.
Oh, I know it made the newspapers, but if you take the kind of news that usually comes out of Israel and Europe, and you take that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're German and you want to compare your lifestyle, your standard of living, your freedom, your jobs, your salaries to other places, you'll compare with the countries around you. You're not going to compare your living in Germany with China. With China and with Germany. If we compare the standard of living and the standard of progressive thought between us and our neighbors, we're way ahead. We're way ahead. Believe me, they have a lot to learn from us. I just had, 2 days ago, we had, with this group that I mentioned, we were in Amman, and we had a meeting with me from Israel and somebody from the Lebanese GLBT organization and an activist in Jordan. And when we heard what their situation is, and compared it with our situation here, we're in good shape. There's always a long way to go, but we're in good shape. Anyway, I didn't want to give you official lines like everybody, you know. I just want to tell you a personal, true story, just to show you. And that's it.
Thank
If you have any questions?
Is it still going on? Were there other couples getting married?
There were many other couples that have gotten married since, but now they just go to the Ministry of Interior, and they just change it with nothing. You know, of our 5 couples, one of the couples had suggested that we don't just go to the Ministry of the Interior, but we go to the Minister of Interior and have him do it. And I almost violently disagreed, because the message, I mean, why did we do this? I wanted to show, not that I'm trying to be, you know, a holy person, I wanted to show young people, people younger than me, which is not most people, that it's a normal thing. You can be gay and you can live a normal life. You go to work, you go to the supermarket, you get stuck in traffic, and you can get married. I don't need to go to the minister, I don't need to be on television, I don't, and they don't need to be anything special. It's normal, it's regular. And so after a lot of arguing, that's what we did. We just went there, got online, took a number, she said number, whatever, and we did it. And that's the message that I wanted to bring across to people that were considering this. I know since then, about 10 or 12 couples that have gone to Toronto, got married and come back, and they just, it's easy. It's like changing into, you know, fixing a driver's license or whatever. It's not a problem. It's not an issue.